Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back to Project Shop. We are in Canva Design for Entrepreneurs, Lesson 2. So last week, we all learned Canva, like in general, just seeing it all the different pieces of it, all the lines, the elements, the grids, the frames, everything. Did you know Canva had so much to offer? Probably not. Like it's really in depth, right? And it's super awesome. So if you missed that, if somehow you got to this video, you got to this replay and you skipped all the other stuff, go back and see the tour. Because it was our first lesson of the month, it is also available on the YouTube channel, the Tanya MFK YouTube channel. So you can always check out the previews of our Project Shop lessons there, so you can get a feel for that. So yeah, Canva tour, and if you, no matter whether you're a member of Project Shop or not, that Canva tour is so helpful to see the new interface, all the new features, and just to kind of understand how to do it without having to figure it out on your own, because it can be a learning curve. So again, welcome back. I'm glad to get so much feedback that it was really helpful for a lot of you. And this week, we're going to dive in a little deeper. Now that you've learned what you can do, the next part is like, it gets a little overwhelming, right? It gets a little overwhelming because there's so many choices. You're like, like it's almost easier when you're like, just give me 2 fonts, but instead we have like a bazillion. So we are going to get into fonts, colors, and images today. So if you're ready, we're going to learn a little bit, some design basics. This is going to help you actually choose things quicker and really streamline the process once you kind of understand some basic elements. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself scrolling through every single font, trying it out on your page and go, what looks good? But if you understand some of these basics, you're going to go, oh, I know exactly what type of fonts I need. You'll scroll to those and you'll pick out of 5 as opposed to picking out of 20, right? 25. There's like a bazillion more than that, like 150 or something. Okay, so everyone ready? I am going to go ahead and jump in. We'll get our lovely slideshow going. As you know, we're in Project Shop. We are weekly live lessons every Monday, so 30 minutes to an hour. We have Q&A. We also have assignments. That way we know you're getting stuff done, because let's be honest, you can learn this anywhere. So the difference that comes with this is we make sure that you do it, because you can learn it, you can see it, but it's not until you do it that you really know it. Right? And that's the difference. So we do have small tasks to make sure that you've gone in there, you've actually tried stuff out, you've done stuff. So that way this becomes an actual skill. That's what's important. And then when you finish those projects, at the end, you'll have a whole thing done. So like we said, we are designing with Canva. Last week we did the Canva tour. This week we're doing fonts, colors, and images. Next week we look at background shapes and layouts, and then we'll be doing our branding basics and our final project. All right, so fonts, colors, and images. Guys, we know fonts can be a daunting task. It can be tough. There's so many different possibilities and sizes. And when we really understand how to skillfully choose them, it's going to make it so much easier, and our design's going to look better. Same thing with color. Good Lord, the color is still a thing. I can't tell you how many pages I come across and things I come across, or flyers I see, even on, Facebook or something. My friends are posting something up. And hopefully it's just for a birthday party, but sometimes it's for businesses. And these colors are just atrocious. It's like neon green with neon pink with it just looks like the 80s met the 90s, and then had this crazy non-matching Punky Brewster baby. And Punky Brewster was cute in the 80s, guys, but come on, we don't want our flyers to look like that, all right? So I was always told I looked like Punky Brewster when I was younger. So it was a really mean analogy, but to myself. But anyway, you get what I'm saying, right? It's like crazy all over the place. Okay. So images, and then images, right? Like understanding how to use images right, where to place them, how to choose the right ones, and also all the fun stuff we can do with them in Canva. All right. So jumping in, we're going to start, as you saw, this is our agenda for the day. We're going to start with fonts. And as we've said, they make a difference. Understanding, again, how to choose them. It's just, you need to see what happens when fonts go wrong. So here we have Big Al's Harley Davidson Writing Club. How cute is that, right? How cute is the Big Al's Harley Davidson Writing Club? This font does not match the brand, let's say, the brand that these strong men are trying to convey, does it? Big Al, this, it makes you want to go and pinch their cheeks. And I have a feeling that these guys on the right wouldn't be too happy if we went and pinched their cheeks. All right. So this is where fonts, that's not the right font, is it? This was a very popular one actually in the industry. It created a big hoopla for like, at least in, of course, people who are paying attention to this. But you look, when you're not choosing the right font at a glance, it kind of looks like it says my favorite color is Hitler. Now I'm just, yikes. Maybe choose a clearer font. If you're not sure and it still looks like it says Hitler to you, it does actually say glitter. That's what they meant. The intention was glitter, but it looks a lot like Hitler, So again, font choices, guys, fonts. Here's a few other things here. For a very special family member. But again, when not done right, it could be a very, offensive card, right? This could be a very, very offensive card. This is probably the most honest taco sign ever, but I have a feeling that they weren't going for fart taco. But, again, font choices, guys, font choices, because it looks like fart taco. And I don't want to go there. And I really like tacos. Like, you got to try really hard to get a Californian to not want tacos. And I think they did it. They accomplished that. And that's really not probably what we want to be going for. Another one here. I mean, if someone doesn't give an F, these give a lot of Fs, like mega Fs. All right. And these lights over here, I'm not even sure what these lights do. These lights, whatever. We don't know what these lights are doing. Okay. I don't know what that description means, but I do know it was a poor font choice. All right. And that was about it. Okay. That was it for my funny, I thought I had another one, but yeah, that was it. So again, you see how important these things are, right? So let's go really quick. This isn't exciting, but it's good to understand some of the basic typographic terms for all of these. And I'm sure you guys have seen this, like serif, sans serif. Like, why are they all called this? Why do I have 45 fonts that say this word, right? It might be kind of annoying. So let's just break it down really, really fast. Sans serif literally means without serif, right? Okay. Oh, I kind of skipped it, but we'll skip it. We'll go there. Without serif, right? So what are serif? Well, serif fonts have these little feet. You see these little feet here? I'm not sure if you guys are able to see my cursor here. Oh, maybe I think I can do a pointer, can't I? Oh, I can't. Okay. Yikes. I was trying to do something cool. This is what happens when I try to do something. Oh, look at that. Try to do something cool. Maybe it'll let me. But you see, oh yeah, well, look at, we can do it here. See those little feet there? Oh, I can make it bigger. I wonder if I could do sizes, right? These little feet. Oh, look at. No, it's going to do something weird. Let's see, guys. I'm going to try this. Nope, didn't work. All right. So these little feet here that you didn't have a feet. That's what they're calling feet, right? That is what makes the serif fonts. Serif, however you want. I'm not proving to know that I know how to say it correctly, but I'm going to say serif because that's what it always sounds like to me. Notice here, we got no feet. No feet. There's no feet, right? Like none of these little like extra line things here that, we used to kind of add when we were cool and kids trying to make our letters look cool, right? It doesn't have it. So that's pretty explanatory, right? Let's go ahead and turn off this editing thing. And so we got serif and sans serif. So as you're looking at fonts, you might think, okay, this has the same name. And one says serif, one says sans serif. That's the difference. Is the little feet or not? The little feet tend to have a little more kind of fanciness to them, maybe properness, where the sans serif is a little more kickback, right? That's your business casual Friday type of thing going on. And then we have script, right? So script, you might look at that as being cursive, kind of your handwriting style font. They generally have letters that are connecting. You'll find the script has lots of different styles, but they tend to be a little more elegant or fun and casual because it's kind of like, you hand wrote it yourself type of thing. And then we have our display fonts. So again, if you see a font that has the word display next to it, these are really decorative fonts. These are kind of the novelty fonts and they're great to get attention. Usually I'm going to say you don't want an entire paragraph written in this. Like I actually love this one. I think it's called Permanent Marker. Is the display. That's the actual name of this font. And I love it. I think it's so much fun. It's just kind of like easygoing. It's definitely like more my style, but writing a whole paragraph or a book with this font is going to be awful. So it's not what you want to do. This is really for that decorative, get your attention, main headline type of thing. And then you switch off to something else. Okay. So that makes sense with everyone there. So then, as we said, we're sticking with our terms here, right? Letter spacing. Letter spacing is the space between the letters, right? So you can see how the word letter here is like really spaced out, right? It's got lots of space in between, and then the word spacing is like closer. That's what we're talking about. That's letter spacing. So it's the space between letters. Use it to elongate words, and make them move out, right? So you might like, oh, I really want this to match the same size as the other one, but you're noticing that the bigger and bigger you make the font, it doesn't work. This is where that helps. So letter spacing. And we have line height, right? So that's the actual space between, the distance between the text from the baseline to baseline. So you see that space right there. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. But again, you've seen this, but now you know. So if you're trying to do this yourself, you'll notice that in Canva, they have the spacing and line height. So now you know, like, oh, that's what I'm looking for. This also, again, helps you if you're trying to speak to your actual designer and say, hey, I'd like to see the letters spaced out a little more, or can we like make that line height larger or smaller? Instead of like, oh, the space in between the letter. And he's like, oh, what do you mean letter spacing? You're like, no, like here. It can get confusing. So understanding these basic terms are really going to help you in your communication, saying what you want, and also finding how to do what you want. Okay. So how do we choose these fonts? Well, we want to look at the style. Look at Walt Disney's style. We got this magical, whimsical thing. You got Toys R Us kind of has this fun and playful, look. The R is backwards. Oh, look at that big, bubbly kind of letters. Then we have L'Oreal, which is a little more stylish, sophisticated, thin line letters. Then we have IKEA, which is like bold and kind of sturdy, right? It's like, not that we're saying that's exactly what IKEA always gives you, but strong, reliable is that style of the font, right? Okay, so look at that. You see how we've kind of used these words to match with these style of fonts here. So you got your strong fonts. You have an elegant font. Handmade, right? It's all lowercase and kind of like thicker letters. Simple, right? Really just basic. And cute. Like those are very similar. So we have those. I think those are different fonts, but you'll see. And then refined, right? Just a little slightly different there, but you kind of notice it's got that vibe. That's the point. It doesn't matter the name of these things, but you can see how these fonts convey a feeling, convey like a vibe, if you will, an emotion type of thing going. And that's why it's so important to really understand what it is. And one of the descriptions I really love for this was just like different occasions call for different style, like things to wear. What you're going to wear to an office party, what you're going to wear out to the club, what you're going to wear to church, what you're going to wear to the grocery store. Those things call for different outfits, right? And that's really what the font is. Font becomes your outfit for what you're trying to put out there. So it is important to wear the right outfit. I think I mentioned in the other one, I saw this in the other video that I saw this like babysitter sticker on a car, and it was like written in the like Halloween creepy font. Hello, not a good idea, guys. Like that doesn't give the good vibe. That looks terrifying, and I don't want to send my child there based upon your font. Like what? That's how powerful it is. So make sure you're putting on the right outfit. Don't go clubby to the church. It's tacky, right? We don't want to do that. So yeah, this is what we're saying. Is it beach vacation or job interview? That's what we're talking about. So make sure you're picking the right one. Okay. Also, you want to make sure it's readable. You might look and go, oh, I have this beautiful quote by, Martin Luther King Jr. It's so nice. Let's write it in there. And then you write it and you're like, you may not even notice it because you're like, oh, it's just a really nice font. So obviously it's going to elegant and so smart. Look how beautiful and inspiring this is. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward, right? But looking at these two side by side, I don't care how nice that font looks on the left, guys. It's harder to read. It's hard, not to mention those T's are really spaced out. Sorry about that. It's not as easy to read. It's not as easy in the eyes. Where on the right, you're like, oh, like really clear, super easy to read, got it together. The T's aren't spaced out all crazy, just easier. So that makes a difference. Really you got to think about that when choosing a font. Okay. Also, when you're choosing your fonts, look at, this is supposed to say text hierarchy. Sorry about that. So you need to use text hierarchy. And what you're going to do is that you want to have the biggest thing, the top thing to get your attention. So you notice this railway, I call it railway, which is probably the wrong pronouncement, but I always call it railway. Railway heavy. Obviously is larger and it's bold and it's actually the name of the font itself. So I don't even think this is the bolded version of this. This is how the font comes. So that's how they chose that. It's just a larger one. So they chose size 42. And then the subtitle, they use the regular railway, all caps, size 21. And then for the body, they used railway thin. So again, that's an actual font called railway thin, and they use a smaller size. But you'll see here that it all blends nicely together, but there is a hierarchy. You know, the headline's the most important. The subtitle wants you to keep reading on. And then the body obviously is what they're reading. So that should be really comfortable and appropriate to read, right? So let's talk about pairing fonts. You can really add something nice by pairing fonts with different things. So you'll see here, we just have the idea of just something bold and regular, right? So as you're doing it, it's the same exact font, but instead of it all being bold, all they did was one is a bold and one's regular. And you're like, oh, that's kind of nice. Where on the right, we have a script style and a sans serif style. So it's the same font. Of course, again, they went into capital and not capital, I think. Actually, no, I don't think that's correct, sir. Sorry about this. This is, there are two different fonts, but you have a script font and a sans serif font. And I think that's the point of this, is that you have something that's kind of flowy and nice, and then you've also added this more serious kind of element on the bottom there. So again, you see that it comes out really nice when you mix these. But again, you have to kind of make sure you're mixing the right things. So then also here, we're looking at creating emphasis, right? So here we've paired regular writing with italics and the sans serif with the serif style. So right here, you'll see the sans serif. So there's no little feet on the soda pop. And then you have the serif. It's got the little feet on there. Kind of looks all cute. The two are mixed. So this gives it a really nice look, a really nice vibe. So again, don't be afraid to mix. Just keep in mind the principles and things that we've been teaching you. All right. So another great thing here is demanding attention. So here we've used the text size and the spacing and the pairing all together to make a big difference, right? So the greater, right? Like you see the spaces in between that are really spread out. So it makes it whole way across this large word towers, right? Which is just big and bold. And then we've come down below and we're a little smaller and we're not spaced out as much. We're fitting, now kind of underneath that tower section, but we're still just as bold, right? We're not as light as the top. And then we have the established 1924, which is matches the thinness and style of the greater up top. So you see how just kind of pairing these fonts together and condensing them and spacing them, all these differences can make such a beautiful thing stand out, right? This simple little things, right? Just playing with fonts, guys. We haven't even added, other than this image in the back, it's an image in a square block. That's it. And it looks so nice already. So I love that. All right. So now we want to look at font titles. So looking at font titles, this is pretty basic. You got left aligned where you can put a title, center aligned, or right aligned where you can, when you're trying to use it as a title. So you see, that's real basic. We also have balance through text spacing. So again, here you see that they have spaced all of this acrylic bar all the way across by really literally spacing out the words. And then we have the words below, which are closer together. So really kind of creates this logo essentially, right? That's what's going on here. Everyone, I hope you're doing okay. Take a deep breath as we've gotten into fonts. Okay. So that was your fonts. I think we're actually done with that. So we take a deep breath and go, wow, fonts. Holy crap. Never thought so much about them. So again, I don't want this to overwhelm you, but you can also go, okay, what am I going for? I want something readable. I'm going to write a long thing. So now you can cut through and all this other crap, like no scripts. No, I'm not going to use any display. Nothing. I want to get right to maybe a serif or a sans serif font, right? I would say sans serif is probably even better without the little feet. So it's really clear, easy. So now you know, you're like, I don't even have to go through this whole list. I'm going to go right to something that says, sans serif font. I know I want some big headline. I want something fun. It's going to catch attention. I know I'm going to go to these display decorative fonts. So this should hopefully give you those tools to cut down time and make it easier to choose the right fonts where you're not just plain. And let's be honest. I know we've all done it where we sat there, and picked, wrote one word and then just skipped down the line over and over and over again. And again, as we're being honest, what happens when you're like, well, that one looks good. Well, this one looks good. And then you go back and forth. You're like, oh, it really looks the damn same. I don't know. This is going to help you cut down with that nonsense. Okay. So now let's move on to colors. Colors. Here's a color wheel. You are going to see this in Canva, as I showed you guys last week, where you can go up to the top and you can choose your colors and you can get specific on your colors. The color wheel is a consistent thing in design of all types, really. Any, interior design, obviously graphic design, because it is a spectrum of 16 million different colors. That's a lot of colors. I wonder if somebody actually knows all of the colors. If there's somebody out there, that's a lot of numbers, right? That's crazy. Good question. And someone let me know that. I would love to know if someone knows, like, yes, there's this one person who can name 16 million hex colors. Anyway, so you'll see this here. You see that when you are trying to, this is going to help you pick colors. We're going to show you how to find complementary colors, colors that create good contrast, all by using this tool here. Another thing I want you to understand is that all of these, as it said, all of these are identifiable by a unique hex code. That's the name of the code. I don't know why. Don't ask me. I just know that wherever I click on this wheel, if this was, like a live wheel I could click on, it would tell me where I am on the color code. Why this is important is once you've decided you're using that color, you should not be going back and trying to where on the wheel was I clicking? There's 16 million spaces on this little wheel. You really think you're going to find it? If so, you should play the lottery. What you need to do is write down that hex code. And then all you have to do is come back and enter that code, and you're always going to get that exact same color. Okay. Same goes for some of you to set it up for you. Get that code. Get that code so wherever you are, you can do this. This works in Word. This works in almost anything that allows you to choose any sort of what am I looking for? Word I'm looking for. Specific colors. That's not the word I'm looking for, but gosh, I can't think of it. Anyway, any colors that you have that are personalized, we'll say, it's going to coordinate with the code. So have those codes. All right. So we got a hex code. Now, there is emotion through color. I know a lot of you have heard about that, but it's a very, very true thing. So we have something in general, for example, our cool colors are things that are like, greens and blues and purples, and they evoke this calm and soothing emotion. Where our warm colors on the other side of the spectrum are reds and oranges and yellows. And these are energy and vibrant and passionate kind of emotions, right? That tend to go with that. All right. Excuse me. Still getting over that cold. All right. So now let's talk a little bit about gradient. What is a gradient? Once you choose a color, and you're in Canva, remember, this is all for Canva. So you've clicked somewhere random on the thing and you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of nice. And you're like, but what if it was a little darker? You don't click around the wheel more. You come down below the wheel. You'll see that there's a little slider there, and you go from left or right as you can see the lightest version of that color, and as it gradient all the way to the darkest version till eventually it just becomes black. So on that gradient slider, you can see all the colors within that same well, I guess the same gradient is what I'm trying to say. So from light to dark of that same color. Okay. So that's how you're going to find those gradients. Again, if you're like, I know it's kind of here. This is like the vibe I'm going for, but a little darker. You don't keep clicking around the wheel. You're just going to slide this little slider down here. All right. That makes sense to everyone. And then we are going to look now at our similar colors, right? Like how are we get these color relationships? And can be really easy, is that colors that tend to go together are usually next to each other on the wheel. So it makes it really easy to go, oh, let me click here. And, again, you can choose kind of where on that slider if you want a different gradient. But you'll see here on the right, they've chosen the pink, and then they went kind of towards the red and the orange. But this is just an example. You can see how these are the colors that are more going to go together well. This is what is probably going to complement each other best. The closer together they are on that wheel. Right? Isn't that such an easy trick, like way to do it? You're like, oh, I'll just stick. Oh, I like this color. What can I do to match it? Oh, just click below it. Boop, see what colors come up and what I like. I thought that was super awesome and so easy to do. So then we have our monochrome. Again, so you're like, I want to get a monochrome, like the dark, medium, and light versions of the same color. Same color. So this is where you'll see where they fit again within the wheel. They're kind of like from inner all the way to outer, right? So that's another way for us to also choose monochrome. Very similar to gradient. Again, just what it's called. And this, you remember, this helps you communicate with designers, with people. Oh, what I'm really looking for is kind of a monochrome vibe to this. Or what's in the gradient there? Can we choose another, area in the gradient? And they're like, oh my gosh, she really knows design. She's so smart. They're going to say it just like that too, with that weird California accent, just so you know. All right. So that is our monochrome. And then let's look at our complementary and contrast. So here we have our complementary and contrast. So how do we choose that? Well, they tend to be on the opposite of the wheel. Again, so you might be here going, okay, I'm in this kind of orangey yellow color you see on the wheel example there. What's on the complete other side? Oh, there's these blue. And that's going to be your nice like contrast. Like you see here and go, oh, yellow, yellow's nice. And obviously we learned on the wheel, like next to yellow is orange and this green, and which is really similar to kind of the colors of a leaf anyway, the stages they go through, they're all next to each other. Those are those similar colors, those harmonious colors. But what if I want that pop? That contrast, something to just bring it alive. Well, we look at the other side and they came up with purple, right? Totally different. Totally different than, these greens and blues and that typical. So that just gives it exactly that contrast, that pop. And so when in doubt, look at the other side of the wheel. Go, I like this color. What's on the other side? Go, ooh, that looks nice. So that is how we're going to find our contrast. So we can also look at creating our palette. And when we're creating our palette, we are thinking about a couple of things, right? We're choosing a single vibrant color that will be used to highlight, the most important element of our design, right? We want one thing that's really going to stand out. Like you see the clothes, it's the red. You see organic roast, it's actually the lighter color in that. And then the whole grain goodness, it's really brought to that kind of orangey color there. So we also want to, maintain the visual focus of our design. We want to limit your palette to no more than 4 colors, right? That's generally the palette. Once you start getting more than that, they're just a bunch of colors. It's not considered a palette anymore. So really, keep that in mind. And as you choose a color palette for your brand, which we'll move into later, you'll start to see how it doesn't mean you have to use all colors at once, but you start to understand what stays with your brand. All right. So this is going to help you, because if you constantly are trying to get everything's new colors, everything's new this, you want an association that's recognizable. And we talk about this a lot in my setting up your brand identity and all of that and some of the other courses. And we're going to talk about this a little bit in our final course here as well. So, see if there's anything else. Choosing colors that are appropriate for the subject of your design. So again, like the whole grain goodness, they've gone for like the autumn and, kind of grain colored, if that makes sense. This also I've mentioned before, or I don't know if I mentioned it, but I meant to, is that let's say you have a funeral home, right? I mean, this is kind of something we can all agree is relatively a somber event, something that deserves a little kind of calmness and respect. So neon pink is probably not how I want to see, caskets or something like that advertised, right? That it doesn't fit. I mean, it just seems inappropriate. You know, it's just not right. Okay. It just doesn't seem right. So, again, this is kind of what we're saying is that you want to make sure that the colors are also appropriate for and make sense for the thing that you are trying to create. So that's just a quick thing on our choosing our color palettes. Everyone did okay. Everyone seemed to survive our color section. So we're moving on through here. Hopefully we should only have maybe about 10 minutes left. See how quickly we can get through this image section, because I really don't want to keep you guys here too long. So now let's get into images. How are we using images in Canva? So as you know, you have the grids that can frame your image. So we have, the pictures that just can be moved over and stuck right into that. You'll see that it also will change. Like, for example, you can resize it where this one had the 2 kittens and we moved it over and we were able to just have the 1 kitten. So you saw that in grids that it will cut down your photo as well. So that's one way to use your images. I don't know why we have this weird font thing going on at the top of our slides. Sorry about that, guys. You probably didn't notice until I brought it up, but it's bugging me. So one thing to also know when you're in that grid, we talked about this last time too, is you double click on that image and that will allow you to resize or move the images. So you'll see here, they started with this cupcake, but maybe you're like, no, I really want, just one big cupcake scene or a real close up. And they were able to do that by the double clicking and working within grids to let you resize that photo. All right. So now here we've talked a little bit about photo filters. We talked about this before. You guys have seen that. So really what that's going to do is it allows you to enhance or correct or just, whatever vibe you're going for to add the filters into your thing. So we went through a lot of that last week. You can really bring out a certain mood with the filters. Here on the left, you see this, vibrant, probably the most pure part of what that photo looked like when it was taken. But here on the right, by adding this filter here, it's kind of giving this retro feel, right? And that's something that those filters can really do. They give out a mood. And a lot of companies will actually stick with a certain filter to create that mood. So it's something to consider. That consistent look and feel of things really can be by just applying, the same filter. And as you guys learned in our last lesson that you can adjust your filter, maybe the filters, the automatic ones are not exactly what you're vibing with. Excuse me. I showed you that you can go in and you can actually adjust the filter to your own specifications. Well, if you do that, just like the colors that give you a hex code, you can get a filter code, and that filter code will, will allow you to always have that same consistent filter. Okay. So you'll see here, all these photos, we don't know what they originally looked like, but we know that when they brought in that filter, they all somehow kind of match. They all kind of have that same vibe, right? So, my goodness, I thought 10 minutes were already here. So your task, guys, is going to be choosing your fonts. All right. So actually, I'm sorry, your task is not just choosing your fonts. You actually have 6 tutorials. And as you should have learned last week, the tutorials are really fast. They're 6. You're like, oh my God. It should take no less than 30. No less. It should take no more than 30 minutes. As this says, it should take less than 30 minutes. Okay. If you were able to really figure out how to kind of navigate those tutorials last week, honestly, some of these could take about 2 minutes. All right. But let's just say take you a little longer. So 12 to 30 minutes this will take you. So it sounds like a lot, but this is going to get you in and learning how to mess around with the fonts, how to pair some fonts, see what mixes well together, how to do some of the titles, how to do the colors, how to do the color palettes, and how to enhance images. All right. So go through there and just get those in so you know how to use Canva. And then what you're going to do once you've played with that is we all chose a design that we're going to make, right? That was last week. We said, okay, I'm going to use one of the social media templates. I didn't care which one you chose. So it could have been Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever your jam is, you picked it. And now I want you to choose your font. If you already have a font that is your brand font, awesome. You're already ahead. If not, choose a font that you know you're going to want to use for this particular design. And I also want you to choose the text. What are you going to write? So I want you to decide what you're actually writing on this design, whatever it is, like announcing or, you know, happy Thanksgiving, whatever your thing is, write it down. Now, again, you'll have a place for that in your worksheet. I also want you to choose your colors and write down your hex codes. So again, if you already have your brand colors, awesome. Get those hex codes down. If you don't know them, find out who got you that color and get a hex code. If you just chose something random, well, how are you staying consistent with that color? Orange to orange to orange is not all orange. So you want to really make sure you know that hex color. So it's time to come in and get serious about it. Get into that wheel, see the color that you like, and write down those hex codes. That is going to be on your worksheet to fill that out. All right. So I think that is it. I'm going to go ahead and stop here. We made it through and it's only been 35 minutes. Woohoo! All right. So if anyone has questions about this section, we ran through it really fast, but there's, you know, I think a lot of it's going to be repetitive and you'll get that basic stuff. And once you get into the tutorials, that's where you're really going to find that gold. So, go through those. And if you get stuck somewhere, email me. All right. We already know that I'm totally available to you by email. And a lot of you have been reaching out. So again, feel comfortable to do that. And that's it. So thank you so much. Project Shop, woohoo. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.